Hi, Christina Johnson here. Welcome to the segment on treatment planning. Treatment planning is hugely important to make therapy work and to have the client and the family know what to expect. And for me as a therapist to know what to expect. It's so grounding and centering, and it really does build confidence when I know what it is that I'm going to be doing with this family. Some treatment plans are better than others. So, I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about my lived experience with treatment planning and how it was for me at my first practicum site, where I was placed as an MFT trainee, which is radically different from the clinic that I've been at for over 10 years now. And one is insured, the other is not through insurance. And it does make a difference. So I'll start with the first experience with treatment planning. Now, the site that you're going to be working at will pretty much guaranteed have a certain way that they want you to do your treatment planning for your clients. And the theory that you're going to be anchoring yourself with and that you're going to be using with your families and clients that you're seeing, that will definitely play into how you create and how you explain the treatment plan to your clients. So when I first started as an MFT trainee, I was placed at the FYOP, the Family and Youth Outreach Program in the police department in Garden Grove. I learned so much from that first site where I was blessed to have wonderful supervision and so much guidance. And I know that in my practicum classes there at Alliant, I also really had a lot of hands-on help with conceptualizing cases. How do I make sense of this? And what am I doing? What am I going to do with these families? How can I help people? And so at the FYOP, it was very brief, and I was able to really apply all of my solution focused therapy training and the learning that I had from my MFT theories and techniques class. So, what was great about the treatment planning there was that it was very structured. It was structured in the way that it was 12 sessions. So, the clients and families, when they came in for their intake, they were informed of that from the get go, that you're going to be in therapy and seeing your therapist for about 3 months. So they knew that it was 12 weeks, and that helped big time. I was super surprised when I started at Western Youth Services, the Medi-Cal clinic, and I was like, you have 6-month updates here? You have annual reviews? Oh my goodness, how long are the clients in here in therapy for? It just was mind blowing. Totally rocked my world. And now that I've been there for so long, it's a little less astonishing. I do really appreciate the brief, short term, solution focused treatment planning that I was able to do with those clients and families that I met with in Garden Grove. So, the way that I built the treatment plan was still very much based off of how are you going to know when you're ready to graduate from therapy? So, you know that I love that miracle question, right? So, I base their goals off of their miracle of how they're going to know if they wake up tomorrow and a miracle happened. The problems that brought them in to come see me just miraculously dissolved in the middle of the night. What's going to be different tomorrow? As you all know, I wrote all of that down in thick detail and description, and I have a lot of their own language. You know, words are magic, right? And so I have written down quotes of what's going to be different after this miracle happens. So I borrow from that miracle session to create what are their short and long term goals. If it is a 12-week, then maybe all three of those goals are going to be in within 12 weeks. Then you will have developed coping skills to be able to feel happier, more energized, whatever it is that's their quote. I think it's really important to have the goals be their goals, right? I mean, if I'm in therapy, which I am, I want my goals to be Christina's goals, not, my therapist goals for me or what my principal or probation officer or anybody else thinks that should be my goals. This is my therapy. I don't want them to be my goals. So I really do let the clients and families know from the get-go that as I get to know you and you get to know me, we're going to have this assessment period in the beginning where we're going to be creating your treatment plan. And I'm going to be finding out what matters to you most. And so that way I can keep my eyes on the prize and we can all together work towards achieving those goals that matter to you. So if it is a 12-week model, then I explain that to them. It's an important part of informed consent and an important part of beginning therapy, going over what to expect. And so I let them know in the first few weeks, we're going to be building this care plan, or we're going to be getting to know what are your goals, what's important to you. And then in the middle phase of therapy, these few weeks, or maybe 5 weeks, 6 weeks even, we're going to be putting in the work. You guys are going to be out there outside of my office, and you're going to be actually trying out the solutions that you propose together as a family in our session. And I like to explain to them too that in the beginning, I'm going to be, just kind of curious, getting to know. And then in the middle phase, I might kind of be like a coach and really, really teaching, or in solution focus, I don't really teach them much, but I am coaching them in a way that I'm really directive. And then towards the end phase, those last few weeks, I'm your cheerleader at that point, which is my favorite phase because then I get to just root you on and help build your confidence that you know what you're doing, that you don't need me anymore, and that you as a family are able to maintain these positive changes once we graduate or we terminate from therapy. I tend to like to use the word graduate instead of termination, but everyone has their own style and their own language of whatever feels salient to you. I like the sound of graduation. It gives them something to look forward to. It gives them, some motivation. When we talk about it like a termination, I don't know, it just kind of has some negative connotation to me personally. So, the treatment plan, I explain to them when I'm going over it. Now, let me jump ahead to Western Youth Services, the Medi-Cal clinic that I've worked at for many, many moons. So, after the assessment period, I present the care plan or treatment plan to the family. And I explain to them that here on your treatment plan, we have these goals that we came up with during our assessment together. I'm very much collaborative in coming up with the goals. These are not Christina's goals for you. These are your goals of what you want to get out of therapy. So I sit down with them, and I usually, quite typically, have three main goals. One of my critiques about treatment plans, because sometimes I'll inherit a case or I'll get a case transferred to me where I did not do their assessment and we did not collaborate on these goals together. These are the goals that their previous therapist came up with for them or with them. And so one of my critiques is too many goals. I really don't like it when I get a care plan and I look at it and there's like 6 different goals. Why? We don't need that many goals. We don't need that many goals. Sometimes I see treatment plans where it's, client will identify triggers for symptoms of depression or their symptoms of PTSD or anxiety. And that's one goal. And then they have another goal of client will learn 3 coping skills from 0 coping skills currently to better manage their symptoms of anxiety. And then another goal, client will implement 3 goals, or they will implement coping skills 5 times a week from 0 times a week current. And then another goal, client will learn communication skills, yada, yada. And then the next one, client will implement communication skills. I mean, there's a way to be able to condense them into one goal. There can be a coping skills goal, a communication skills goal, and like a decision-making skills goal. There's no need really to break them down into so many goals. That's going to be overwhelming for the client too, if you think about it. I'm a big fan of keeping it simple. So I like to keep it simple by keeping it 3 goals max on a care plan. And I explained to them that these goals are like umbrella goals. So anything that we talk about and work on in our sessions, and we're going to work on whatever you come in to see me for that day. I'm going to tailor the treatment to you. That's another one of my critiques, I guess, is that although treatment plans can look very cookie cutter, that they are the same for everybody. One, the quotes make them unique and tailored to the client. 2, in the world of Medi-Cal, man, we got to use some templates. There's just so many clients and so many care plans and treatment plans, and it takes a long time to do DMH paperwork. It just does. So, yes, they can look like they are cookie cutter for every client, but really making them broad and overarching like that, like these umbrella goals, makes it easier for me to take whatever it is that they're bringing into the room and filter it under one of those umbrellas. If you are working for an insured client and working for an insurance company or on an insurance panel where they want to see the treatment plan and the goals and the services, then every progress note that you're going to write is going to need to be tied to one of those goals. So the typical note that I write, it has there on the top, after the symptoms and impairments, how the client presented, what goal did I address in that session? And then the interventions, then the responses, then the progress towards that goal, and then the plan for our next session. So they are very much the syrup notes that I tend to use at the clinic that I work at and also in the private practice that I've done as well. The treatment plans that I've done for my out-of-pocket clients, I've tailored them, or I've kind of mimicked what I do with my Medi-Cal clients because it just makes sense to me, and I've been doing it for so long, it's easier for me to do it that way. So another important thing about the care plans is that it needs to be linked to their impairments. for Medi-Cal especially. So in my assessment summary, I've gone through and I've listed out their diagnoses, their symptoms, behaviors, and I have identified what are their impairments. In order to meet medical necessity, they have some impairments going on in their life. Maybe it is an impairment to their physical well-being, and they are at risk for suicide or self-harming. Then I would need to have a goal attached to the physical well-being impairment. So, for example, and they have to be timed out too. So, for example, by 3 months, client and family will identify and implement 3 adaptive coping strategies from zero baseline. And I go over with the families too. This does not mean that you have zero coping skills right now. I just have to write it as a measurable, as a SMART goal. And so no one seems to take offense, at least in the last 10 years that I've been at Western Youth. No one's taken offense to the baseline 0. And then to address this impairment. So they will develop 3 adaptive coping strategies to reduce their risk for harm to self or suicide. And so in the past, now this all just recently changed with CalAIM and CalOptima, Medi-Cal changing our treatment plans. They actually changed them last month and didn't give us any training. It was really fun. Let me tell you, they changed it. So it used to need to have them dated throughout the year. Now, the reason why they had them dated throughout the year was so that way I wouldn't have to do a new care plan or a new treatment plan and get it signed by the client and the parent every session or every month. So I would have them dated throughout the year. Maybe there's a coping skills goal to address their risk to physical well-being. So I'd say by 3 months, client and family will develop and implement 3 adaptive coping strategies from zero baseline to reduce their risk for self-harming and suicide and address clients' desired goal to, quote, whatever their quote is. Maybe they want to feel better. That's kind of a common one. And then the next umbrella goal is usually a communication and conflict resolution, I would say, is the second most common goal that you'll see on one of my treatment plans for a client. So previously, we'd have to date it out. So I'd have a 3-month goal, a 6-month goal, and a 12-month goal. So by 6 months, client and family will identify and implement 3 communication and conflict resolution skills from zero baseline in order to improve family functioning and be able to make and maintain healthy relationships with their family and their peers. And to work towards clients' desired goal to, quote, get along better with my mom, whatever it is. Do they sound like run-on sentences? It's because they are. They're going to be run-on sentences. In order for me to get all of the SMART goal information in there, the making it specific, it's got the quotes in it, making it measurable. So 3 coping skills, making it achievable. That's achievable to get 3 coping skills in 3 months. And realistic, yeah, that's pretty realistic. And to make it timed, right? So timed by 3 months, by 6 months, by 12 months. Now that they don't have us doing that, I almost feel weird about not having the T. Because I'm like, is this really a SMART goal now? I don't like that it doesn't have a time on it. So when I'm going over a treatment plan with the family, I always pause after each goal. And then I'm like, do we still have a thumbs up on that? All right. You got a thumbs up, kiddo? You got a thumbs up? Mom, you got a thumbs up, Dad? Okay. And yesterday, when I was going over a treatment plan with a mother-daughter combo, one of the goals that I went back over, I asked, so do I have a thumbs up from you on that? And the client gave 2 thumbs up, and I was like, ooh, I got 2 thumbs up on that one. All right. And it just so happened to be the goal that she wants to start with first. So I let them know that even though they're timed throughout the year, and even though they're not timed anymore, I still kind of have this in my spiel. This does not mean that this is the order that we're going to go in. So it doesn't mean that we're going to wait 6 months before we start to talk about communication skills and we start to work on conflict management. Maybe it says by 12 months, client and family will identify and implement 3 decision-making skills and limit setting strategies from zero baseline to reduce risk for school suspension and academic retention and work towards client's desired goal to, quote, graduate high school and stay out of trouble, end quote. So it doesn't mean that we're going to wait 12 months before we start working on solutions to stay out of trouble at school and solutions to be able to focus and pay attention in class and whatever it is that's in their miracle response, right? So I let families know that this is not written in stone. That's an important thing. That I'm going over this treatment plan so you all know what to expect in here in treatment. And so that way I can make sure that we're all on the same page, that this is what you want me to focus on. This is what you want us to tackle together collaboratively. And this is your buy-in right here. And that can change. You know, you have the reins in here in therapy, and it can change what it is that is important to you to work on right now. The services are also listed out on the treatment plan, which is another thing that kind of changed with the new rollout of paperwork with CalAIM and CalOptima. And I'm like, okay, that's weird too. Weird to me, but I adapt, migrate, or die. So I will adapt to the new changes to the Medi-Cal treatment planning. I think it's weird that it doesn't have on there my plan for services. So I just tell them what the plan is for services because I do write it in the assessment summary. So my family that I met with yesterday, we're going over the care plan, the treatment plan, to get their signatures on it. And it is kind of like a contract, you know? It's kind of neat to see some teenagers signing their electronic care plan and being like, is this your first legal document that you've signed? Some of the younger kiddos, they don't even know they don't have a signature yet. So I'm like, it's okay. You can just do a scribble as long as you know that it's you and I know that it's you, then we're fine. But I let them know that it's not written in stone. And the services that were listed on there, if they're not listed on there now, I just tell them what is our plan for the services. For example, if on the treatment plan I have individual therapy, collateral therapy, and group therapy, and case management, and medication support. It's a lot of services, right? I'd have on there the frequency of those services. So, oh, and collateral therapy, I don't know why. It's just kind of a bee in my bonnet that Medi-Cal won't let me call it family therapy. Like, I'm a marriage and family therapist. Why can't I put family therapy on the care plan? But that's a whole another spiel for another day, and it has to do with billing because the client, the IP, is the one with the Medi-Cal. So everything has to be directed towards the client. The client will, the client will, the client will. And collateral services is collateral to support the client. It's very much pathologizing, I think, and it really places one person as the identified patient. So, it irks me. it irks me that I get placed in this kind of box where I'm reduced to need to use certain language that is just kind of unhelpful and unfortunate. But I don't have to use that language when I'm in session with my families and with my, clients that I get to meet with. So, what else do I have to say about treatment planning? I think one of the common mistakes that I went over earlier is having too many goals. Don't be afraid to make your goals really broad, because you're going to have the quote on there that makes it specific and personal and relevant to them. Don't be afraid to change the care plan and treatment plan if you find it clinically appropriate to do so. Sometimes new problems, new symptoms, there's new developments, more gets revealed, right? And so maybe I'll need to add on a goal. Maybe they'll meet one of the goals and they'll feel like that's no longer relevant and that we've met that goal, so we can take it off. So I let them know that the frequency and the goals themselves are not written in stone. They are theirs, so they can change them whenever they want. Family therapy, the collateral services, as I have to call them on the treatment plan, I let them know that I am a family therapist. So I'm going to lean more heavily on the family sessions. That does not mean that that is written in stone either. Sometimes in doing some EMDR, we might have a whole month where I'm just meeting with the teenager and I'm just having some case management, some psychoed kind of involving the parent for short little snippets. And so I let them know that, yes, it says here on the treatment plan that we're going to be meeting weekly for collateral services, that we're going to be meeting monthly for individual therapy. It says that we're going to be meeting weekly for group therapy. Usually it's not with me, it's with whoever's running the group there at the clinic. And I let them know, just because it's on your care plan doesn't mean that you have to do it. If we have a group that starts up that I think that you'd benefit from, that I think that you'd really enjoy, then I'll let you know. Hey, we have a really great process group for art therapy or teens managing stress or whatever it is. I'll be like, yeah, Wednesdays at 4 o'clock, we're having this group. And so you can decide if that fits into your schedule, if that's something that you want to do. And it would be in addition to our therapy. So it wouldn't replace our therapy together. It would be kind of like an additive on there. I explain to them medication services. If that sometimes I get my clients referred to me out of a hospitalization or where they have medication. Maybe this is their first time being prescribed medication and they only have this short supply that they've been given from the hospital. Then I let them know that I will set them up and I ensure linkage to our psychiatrist there so they can get an evaluation and continue their medication. Sometimes it's urgent that they meet with the doctor sooner rather than later because maybe they're running out. Right now, there's a lot of wait for getting in for an intake and getting your assigned therapist. There's a lot of people seeking therapy right now, and there's not a lot of us therapists. There's a lot of demand, not a lot of supply. And so, if that's the case, and I don't have time to get through a thorough, full assessment, then I can do a mini care plan. And the mini care plan is just basically has on there what their medical necessity is and what services that I'm going to provide for them in the next month. And I put medication on there so that way I can link them to the psychiatrist. They can get in for their evaluation, they can get their refill on their meds, and I can still take my time being thorough, um, creating their actual treatment plan. So, yeah, don't be afraid to ask questions. Um, we all start out not knowing what we're doing or how to put together a treatment plan. I guarantee that wherever you get placed at, there's going to be um, clinicians there and therapists there that have been in your exact same shoes. And most of us, I know me for sure, welcome questions and want to share with the trainees and associates starting on, just kind of like, yeah, I have some templates for some kind of common goals, some umbrella goals that I use with my clients. And here's kind of a template for the typical services that I would put on there. And we're all really wanting to share information with how to do treatment plans. The theory of choice can really structure your treatment plan as well. I know that for EMDR, the eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, I create kind of its own treatment plan, if you will, even though I have their separate treatment plan through the Medi-Cal side. As I am meeting with them in assessment, I'll have my client create a top 10 timeline. On their top 10 timeline, they list out the top 10 events in their life that have been most significant, negative and positive. And then I'll target those certain negative life events on their care plan. So that's its own kind of unique thing that you'll get some training on if you're interested in EMDR in the future, I hope. And so I think that I covered everything. If you have any questions, I hope to see you in the Q&A that we have set up for later in April. So thank you so much, and I'll catch you next time.